This right here gonna be a cakewalk.
I bought my buddy Tekken 8 Advanced Edition for Christmas. He normally doesn't play fighting games, but I told him that this one is really good. Do you think he will enjoy the game as a new Tekken guy? I'm assuming you're going to play with him, right? If you stump him out, of course he's going to dislike it. If you tell him that the game sucks and he starts like complaining about season 2, he'll feel that energy and he won't like it. But if you guys are just having a good time, if you're not just stomping him out repeatedly, I think he'll like it. If you're explaining things to him, if he's playing on his own, I think it depends on what type of person he is. Some people don't like playing games on their own. They like playing games like, socially. This is why Arc Raiders is doing so good, because it's a very social game. This is why I say Tekken needs more social aspects, talking in voice chat, and just some type of co-op mode, a cooperative mode would go a long way. There's games that literally become popular because they're cooperative based, right? And there's a little bit of betrayal. Tekken shies away from the toxic aspect, but if you could make the toxic aspect part of the game, that's great. Think about Among Us. It was a game all about teamwork, but a little bit of toxicity, right? It literally has a time where you can pause the game and everyone yell at each other. And then Arc Raiders, you can work with your team and then you can stab them in the back. Don't shy away from these aspects. Embrace them, use them to your advantage. I actually liked season 1, and I know season 2 is rough, but I still feel the game is playable. It's playable. So I wanted to see the different eras of fighting games. The Origins is the 1970s to the 80s. Golden Age is the 80s to the 90s. 3D Revolution is 90s to late 90s. Dark Ages is 2000 to 2008, which is interesting because isn't the Dark Ages, yeah, they got Tekken 5 listed here. During the Dark Ages was when Tekken 5 was going crazy. Dark Ages fits because fighting games were meh. Arcade decline, net play, fragmentation, ununified blockbuster, still quality releases, but niche FGC. And then you have the revival where esports started to come back, online dominance, rollback netcode, the consoles. The Dark Ages is the era where arcades died and online came to be. And fighting games basically struggled to adapt to that whole time period. That whole decade, and even you can say like 2015 and whatnot, they just struggled to adapt. Arcades was a good moneymaker for them. When that Xbox online party started to form, they treated it as a secondary. Let's keep trying to revive arcades. If they would have as soon as online became a thing, if they would have immediately jumped on it the way Call of Duty did, I think the world would be different. When I was growing up playing video games, fighting games, it literally did disappear. I remember playing Mortal Kombat and stuff on PlayStation 2. And then PlayStation 3 and Xbox came out, and I don't remember no fighting games. I remember it was Call of Duty era. It was Gears. It was GTA 4. Medal of Honor died, but it walked so Call of Duty could run. Even though Call of Duty was like a PC thing, it really wasn't a console thing. But when the 360 and whatnot, they made that jump immediately. And then GTA did the same thing immediately. But the fighting games didn't do that. Fighting games was dominant PlayStation 2 era. And then soon as online came out, it was a ghost town. And thinking back on it, bro, it's so crazy that happened. Honestly, I think we're seeing a similar thing with the Switch 2 for Tekken 8. Tekken 8 not being on Switch 2 at launch is a equal failure to it not being there, Xbox Live dropping. Xbox Live was historic. Switch 1, historic. Tekken not being on Switch 1, madness. Not being on Switch 2 is criminal. Lock them up. Put them in a cell with Diddy. Throw some baby oil in there. That's criminal. Ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way. It's just certain things that you should do because you know how successful it's going to be. Switch 1 was one of the best-selling consoles of all time. Switch 2 is going to be one of the best-selling consoles of all time. Why would you not be there? When you seen 360 taking off, skyrocketing, you should have put your game on that platform with proper online support. The fact that there's certain fighting games still in it 2025 asking for netcode, absurd. But when you talk about the pinnacle of this, like 2019, 2018, that's ridiculous. How was fighting games really pushing for proper online? And I really don't even understand what netcode is. I don't care. I don't want to care. Personally, I feel like we shouldn't have to know. I don't need to know like Call of Duty's network Fortnite's network, Marvel Rivals, it just works. Why do fighting game players have to know the specific problem? I feel like it shouldn't even be something I have to talk about. I shouldn't even know the word netcode. I shouldn't even know any of these words. It should have just been there the whole time. And that's my thing. Because if you go back to what I was saying, right, about how, fighting games was late to the gun. I remember when Mortal Kombat 9 dropped, that was banger. That was fire. But it was also very late. Street Fighter 4. Fire, banger, very late though. When Street Fighter 4 came out, there was already like 3 or 4 Call of Duties at that point that dropped and cemented itself in time. But you know how the previous generation, the unks, the old heads, those guys grew up playing fighting games? You had people who grew up playing shooting games. And when you grow up playing something, it's going to be very difficult to switch to something else. The people who grew up playing Call of Duty, they will switch to Arc Raiders, to Fortnite, to Battlefield 6 before they switch to a fighting game. And that's why I think they messed up. PlayStation was talking about, no, Xbox was. Xbox was talking about how they lost the most important era. Online, Xbox was formed, and that's when the new generation of players was coming online. Like the Moonsault Slayer, right? That's when I came online. Xbox One and PlayStation 4 was a new era. In terms of like, this is when people started to buy things digitally, and this is when people started to become more committed to a side. This side, that side. Console wars. Xbox lost the console wars at the most important moment. And PlayStation not only made a legit console, but it made legit games, and it also cemented itself with the players because they grew up playing 3. They continue to play 4. Of course, you can look at hindsight and you can see these mistakes happening. And I think you should do that, right? That's why we have these conversations, because you can't go back and change the past, right? Okay, so what? They dropped the ball during the Xbox Live era. So what? But why are you doing it again with Switch 2? There's literally a whole new generation of players who grew up on Switch. They never had an Xbox. They never had a PlayStation. They only had a Switch their whole life, and they're going to buy the Switch too. Put Tekken in a place for those guys. That's what I'm talking about, bro. Learn from the past. Street Fighter is on Switch 2. Mortal Kombat, I believe, is on Switch 1, maybe Switch 2. I don't know. Tekken should be there, bro. They're making the same mistakes again, bro. Almost a whole decade and some change later. Learn from the mistakes. Understand how these other games took over. Understand how fighting games fell off. Understand what the dark ages were. Like, if we go back to what, sparked this conversation, right? The different eras of fighting games. Understand what the dark ages were. The decline of the decline of arcades, but also poor net play, fragmentation. Understand that and overcome. Let's keep going though. So revival is Street Fighter 4, Mortal Kombat 9, Smash Bros. Okay, Tekken 7 is not listed. That's kind of crazy. Tekken 7 went crazy during that era. And then the new golden age. So that's what this is called. This era is called the new golden age, where Mortal Kombat, Tekken 8, and Street Fighter 6. The new golden age. New golden age. They have potential. This is what I'm talking about, right? This is a new golden age. Finally, they've caught up to online. And a lot of these fighting games, they have these online playrooms. Like 2XKO have it, Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8. Mortal Kombat doesn't have it, which is kind of crazy. But they have these online like playrooms. That's great. That's incredible. Mortal Kombat does have voice chat, though. I think all of these fighting games need to continue pushing the online side of their game as much as possible, because that is what makes games. That's what makes or break games. I found Red Dead 2 online very boring because it was hard to interact with everyone. It didn't show people on the map. I couldn't hear people. Even when I did find someone, it's one person who's sprinting because they're completing the mission. I'm like, yo. And they're like, what's up, man? And then they just keep running. And if I shoot that guy, I'm ruining his experience because his mission's going to fail. That's a whole different topic, right? We could talk about Red Dead and what they're doing wrong. But this is why, like, I think online experience. Yes, experience, but online. Sometimes fighting games only provide the experience, but they don't provide the online nature. And you need both of those bad boys, you know? Fighting games have so much potential, and they're making improvements. They're going in the right direction. With how far behind they are in comparison to some of the other games, they gotta like step it up a little bit. Tekken 8 was a big step though. Street Fighter 6 was a big step. Mortal Kombat, the best thing about Mortal Kombat is the visuals, like the graphics, the voice chat, and then the first thirds of the story. I can't give that game no credit for anything else. Tekken is great though, and I'm talking beyond balance. Like balance is. People always will complain about balance. Balance, most people don't care about balance. Most people want to have fun. I think if they were to fix that aspect of it, because even DOA players make fun of this. I seen a DOA person on Twitter making fun of Tekken 8. Like, how is Asuka that way? How did they allow that to happen? The fact that the game is so laughable is something they have to fix, because I think it's overshadowing a lot of the great qualities it has. But then also if it adds some more great qualities to it, it'll be unstoppable. It really is just missing that cooperative element. That's why you see 2XKO and whatever the other fighting games are that's doing the team element. That's why they're doing it, is because they know cooperative is the future. There's people who scoff at that, like, a team game, I don't want a teammate. Bro, that's the future. Tekken needs to figure out a way to have a team-based mode. Tekken Tag Tournament 2 kind of did this, where you could pick 2-on-2 and then you could have, like, you know, someone else play player 2, play the second character. They need to figure out a way to do that without all of the tag mechanics. Something like that. That's really what I would go for, bro. If I was in charge of these fighting games, I would try to have like a 3-on-3 match, everyone on the same stage. You need a revolutionary idea like that, bro. I know it sounds far-fetched. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds like it's a mad scientist idea, but I'm telling you right now, the first fighting game to like do something like that in a smart way, they're going to cook. And everyone's going to be like, this is genius. And I want Tekken to do it. I want Tekken. Saying it sounds crazy, but when it happens, it's going to be genius. And I want Tekken to be the genius, bro. Because also, it's the best one in terms of 3D environments. It has the most potential to do it. It has the most potential to do it. Tekken 8 is the most feature-rich Tekken ever. Contrast by having one of the most aggressive systems. Maybe. Because I know some of the stuff that Tekken 5 had, but I don't know everything that Tekken 5 had. But I would argue that Tekken 5 is probably up there too.